Hello everyone. We have studied how embryo is formed. Now we'll study seed. A fertilized ovule is called a seed. That is, the ovary after fertilization, the ovary will develop into the fruit and the ovule will develop into the seed. Numerous seeds are present inside the fruit. There's a question in the NCERT which says, what is the relation between the number of ovules present inside the ovary and the number of seeds? So the answer is the number of seeds will always be either equal to or lesser than the number of ovules which are present, because it cannot exceed the number of ovules present inside the ovary, because it is inside each ovule that a single embryo will be formed, and those embryos, each of the embryo which is formed inside it will be resulting into seed. So the number of seeds cannot exceed the number of ovules. It will either be equal to that or less than that, as some of the ovules might not be able to reach the stage of seed. So seeds are basically of two types: endospermic or albuminous and non-endospermic or exalbuminous. Endospermic seeds are those seeds which retain endosperm. That is, endosperm is present in the mature seed. In other type of seeds, which is the non-endospermic seeds or the exalbuminous seeds, endosperm is absent. That is, endosperm has been consumed while the growth of embryo endosperm has diminished, and only the cotyledons are present. What happens is, most of the people assume that all dicots, they are non-endospermic because they have two cotyledons, while all monocots, they are endospermic because they have a single cotyledon, and it is the endosperm which is serving as a food storage tissue. So this is not the case. However, not all dicots are non-endospermic and not all monocots are endospermic. So you should not generalize that way. Endospermic seeds, they are also called albuminous seeds. For example, wheat, maize, barley, while non-endospermic seeds are called exalbuminous seeds. For example, pea, bean, groundnut. So basically in endospermic seeds, the endosperm is persisting and it is serving as the food storage tissue for the developing seed. Whereas in non-endospermic seeds, the endosperm is absent and it is the cotyledon in which the food is stored and is used for the maturation of seed and the germination of seed. In other type of seeds, which are the perispermic seeds, nucellus is persistent. Persistent in the sense that when fertilization has occurred, in most of the ovules, what happens is the nucellus will degenerate. It will not be present later on. But in some seeds, nucellus is persistent, and it is present in the perispermic seeds. For example, black pepper and beet seeds, they have persistent nucellus. So the takeaway from the slide is there are basically two types of seeds, endospermic and non-endospermic, and a third rarer type of seeds which are the perispermic seeds in which nucellus is persist. Now what is the basic structure of seed? The seed has the basic structure of seed consists of seed coat, endosperm and embryo. Seed coat it consists of two coatings. The outer one, which is the testa, which is very thick, whereas the inner is tegmen, which is relatively thin. Also, seed coat has micropyle. The micropyle, the pore is present in the seed also, and it facilitates. It is required for the entry of oxygen and water into the seed so that the seed can germinate. It is only when the water will be able to enter that the seed will be able to germinate. Second is endosperm. Endosperm, as we have seen earlier, the seed may be endospermic, it may be non-endospermic. So endosperm may be present, endosperm may be absent. Third is embryo. Embryo is the main part of the seed which will be giving rise to the mature plant. In cases where endosperm is absent, the plant has cotyledons. In those seeds where endosperm is present, the cotyledon is serving as a food sucking tissue. That is, it will derive the nutrition from the endosperm and it will give that nutrition to the embryo. But in those seeds where endosperm is absent, it is the cotyledon which is serving as the food storage tissue. Okay, so these are the different types of seeds which have been shown. You can see both dicot and monocot seeds have been shown. The upper one shows a dicot seed. The first figure shows a dicot seed where two cotyledons are present, and in the adjacent figure you can see the embryonal axis is visible. Okay. And the lower two figures, they depict monocot seeds where a single cotyledon is present. These are basically two terms which you need to clarify. First is dormancy and the second is germination. Dormancy means the state of inactivity when the seed is not able to germinate. That is, the seed is mature but it is not able to germinate. It may be because of some environmental conditions, right? The temperature might not be adequate, moisture might not be adequate, oxygen might not be present. Whereas germination is the ability of a seed to produce seedling in the presence of favorable environmental conditions. What are those environmental conditions? Adequate moisture, adequate oxygen, and adequate temperature. If these conditions are present, only then the seed will germinate. Now, what are the advantages of seed formation? Angiosperms form seeds. So these seeds, they have better adaptive strategies for dispersal. Means the seed can be dispersed to faraway locations, which will result in the dispersal of the plant itself. That is, plant may be it may be transferred to faraway locations. Sufficient food reserves for nourishment. That is, the seed has endosperm, it has cotyledons, so those, they are serving as food reserves which will nourish the embryo when the plant has not yet developed the leaves in order to perform photosynthesis. It is the food reserves present inside the seed which will be giving nourishment to the young seedling. Protection by hard seed coat. The outer seed coat, the testa, testa, it provides protection to the seed. Protection from temperature, protection from desiccation, and protection from other extreme conditions. And seeds generate new genetic recombination because they are a product of sexual reproduction. So seed, we know it has been formed by fusion of male gamete and female gamete. So those, that male gamete and female gamete, they are having varying genomes, and when they combine, and during the formation also, during the formation of male and female gametes also, meiosis took place. So all these factors, they cause genetic recombination to take place, which is why the seeds they produce more variability in the offspring as compared to those plants in which seeds are not formed. Seed viability. Seed viability is basically the period for which the seeds retain their power of germination. Viability may be very less, viability may be quite high also. For example, in plants like oxalis, viability is only for few months. After few months, the seed will not be able to germinate even if you provide it with adequate moisture, temperature, and other adequate conditions, oxygen, etc. It won't be able to germinate after a few months. Whereas in some cases, very high seed viability has been noticed. For example, a lupine called Lupinus arcticus. It's a plant which was excavated. So seeds were excavated from Arctic tundra, and even after 10,000 years, the seed was able to germinate. It was viable. Similarly, a date palm seed, the seed of Phoenix dactylifera, it was excavated at King Herod's palace near the Dead Sea, and it was able to germinate after 2000 years. It was dormant for 2000 years and then it germinated, giving rise to a plant. now coming to the types of fruits, we'll be very briefly discussing this. Fruit is basically ripened ovary in which the ovules which have now developed into seeds are present. Fruit is basically of three types. One is true fruit, the other is false fruit, and the third is parthenocarpic fruit. True fruits are those fruits which develop from the ovary, like mango. False fruits are those fruits which develop from other floral parts along with the ovary. For example, apple, strawberry, cashew nut. In apple, what happens is the thalamus is also involved in the fruit formation along with the ovary. So ovary तो है ही, उसके साथ में thalamus भी participate कर रहा है fruit के अंदर. Parthenocarpic fruits are those fruits जिनमें fertilization ही नहीं हुई. They are fruits which develop without fertilization. तो क्योंकि fertilization नहीं हुई, so they are also called seedless fruits like banana. You can see in the lower figures, you can see thalamus in case of apple is involved in fruit formation along with the ovary. In case of strawberry also they have shown thalamus is involved. Now coming to another topic called apomixis. Apomixis is a phenomenon which takes place in family Asteraceae and in grasses like wheat, maize, rice. Okay. So what is apomixis? Apomixis is a process in which seeds are produced without fertilization. Okay. So how will this occur? This can occur in two ways. In first case, what happens is that the megaspore mother cell will not undergo meiosis. If you can recall, the megaspore mother cell, it was diploid and it underwent meiosis to give rise to haploid megaspores. So in apomixis, what will happen is the megaspore mother cell will not undergo meiosis. So the diploid structure is retained, that is 2n number of chromosomes are retained, and the egg cell which is formed from that megaspore mother cell is also diploid because no meiosis took place, so the ploidy is maintained. And this egg cell, because it is already diploid, it does not need the male gamete in order to achieve the extra n number of chromosomes. So this diploid egg cell is capable of developing into embryo by itself without fertilization. This is one way by which apomixis can take place. In other cases like in citrus and in mango, what can happen is, we know angiospermic plant body is a sporophytic plant body. Major life cycle phase is sporophytic, that is diploid number of chromosomes they are present, 2n number of chromosomes are present. So what can happen in some cases is the nucellar tissue which surrounds the ovule, the diploid cells of that nucellus will protrude into the embryo sac and they will develop into embryos because they are already diploid, and they will be enjoying the conditions inside the ovule and they will be developing into embryo. So what will happen if nucellar tissues will also contribute to embryo formation? In that case, there may be more than one embryo in a seed. In that case, there is not this this is because nucellus is also contributing to the formation of embryos. It may be in some cases that integument is also contributing to the formation of embryos. In the figure you can see, in green you can see the integumental embryos, and in black you can see the nucellar embryos, and in red is the main zygotic embryo. Only zygotic embryo has genetic variability because it has been formed by fusion of male and female gamete, whereas there is no genetic variability in nucellar embryos and integumentary embryos because they directly developed without fertilization from the diploid tissue which surrounded the ovule. So these nucellar embryos and integumentary embryos, they are genetically identical to each other because they belonged to the same tissue. It was the same diploid tissue which was surrounding the ovule, and they are called clones. Such embryos have no genetic variability and they can be referred to as clones, but they are not clonal to the zygotic embryo. Zygotic embryo has different genome, whereas nucellar embryos and integumentary embryos have same genome. Thank you.